Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort.
And I'm Dalton Gentry.
And I'm here to poo-poo on your childhood.
That's so subtle this week. It's like you calm down a little bit. This is Adrian Reed's Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Chapters 3, Chapters 4. Adrian.
Yeah.
Excited? Feeling better?
This is crap.
Okay. That's usually how we go with this. Chapter 3, Will and Won't. Dumbledore goes to the Dursleys. He is going to get Harry. He's going to take him with him. We get our daily dose of basically wizard news. What's happened over the summer that we missed out on. We have a new Minister of Magic. Voldemort's return. Harry Potter's the chosen one. Same thing we normally get from any beginning Harry Potter chapter. And we do find out a little tidbit here. Harry Potter will be considered an adult as of the next book at the age of 17.
Right.
Yeah, the wizarding world is a year ahead of everyone. You become an adult at 17.
Also, he owns a slave.
And he owns a slave and his own manor, and yeah. Anyway, in chapter 4, we have Horace Slughorn. Dumbledore tries to persuade Slughorn to return to teaching, and he does so very underhandedly by bringing Harry Potter with him, because he knows that old Slughorn likes to collect famous students, likes to surround himself by fame and power. You've got a smirk there.
No, not
You
in
do.
particular.
So where would you like to start with this?
So I think that the interesting place to start with this is the trash.
Okay. Start with the trash.
No, I would like to throw this in the trash.
Oh, so just put it in the trash?
Okay. Given the timeline here, I think it is going to be interesting to see the parallels between a small sect of a subset of a minority here, right? So that is to see how Muslim and a magician sync up, and then how ISIS cults and things like that sync up with Death Eaters.
Okay.
Because with that first chapter, where we have the introduction to the mainstreaming of the magic world, right? We have the Death Eaters, which not all magicians are Death Eaters, right? A small sect of magicians are Death Eaters. A small sect of Muslims are. It is the fundamentalist Muslim is not every Muslim, right?
Fair.
So that is, I think that is being set up to be an avatar for terrorism in this novel, and how the mainstream is going to take out on all of the magic world the acts of a small subset of magicians, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Let me point out, first of all, like, I lived in a foreign country for a while. I spoke pretty decent that language. And sometimes when you're translating, there's just a disconnect, and, like, that's all you can focus on. You're like, what the hell am I missing here? Magicians?
What am I saying?
Wizards?
Wizards. That do magic.
Like, you kept saying magicians and Muslims. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Okay,
Magicians.
so alliteration right there.
I feel better now. It took me a second, but okay, we're on the same page again.
How did you have to transcript magicians?
Magicians?
Yes.
Like with the capes and the hat and the wand?
Do they do magic?
They do.
Well, I'll be goddamned.
Okay, but anyway, I feel better now.
But do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do see what you're saying there, and
So,
that is an interesting point.
I think that just forecasting what's going to happen with Tony Blair is Tony Blair and his folks are going to blame all of the magician world for the acts of the terrorist group, which is a fundamental literary foray, if you will, into exploring how a prejudice works.
Okay. Interesting point. I didn't think of that. And we are going to see a lot more of the Death Eaters, so we are going to get some answers there. Interesting. Now, you did bring up the point of Harry Potter now owns Creature. And I kind of figured you were going to run with that one, as you tend to do. So, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, he immediately sends him to work at
The kitchens.
Mm-hmm. Hermione is going to accidentally free the wrong slave, who is going to run to ISIS with all of the secrets.
Okay. Now, Creature has shown his loyalty. That was a big part of that scene. Was we were trying to figure out if Sirius had passed on the lineage to Harry, or whether it would revert back to Bellatrix because she's the last remaining of the family. But apparently, Harry has inherited the home. He has inherited Creature, so we might see a little bit more of that coming soon. Not terribly prominent right now, so might put that on the back burner for a bit.
Right.
But I figured that might be something that like ruffles your feathers and you wanted to get into a little bit.
Just real quick, because I feel like you're jumping past mainly the stuff that I've got written down here.
Carry on.
Number 6. Should the dark mark appear over any dwelling place or any other building, do not enter, but contact the Auror office immediately. That's going to come back.
Okay.
Harry Potter's going to enter. Harry Potter's going to prove himself. This is going to be one of the points where Harry Potter proves himself.
Okay.
7. Unconfirmed sightings suggest that the Death Eaters may now be using Inferi. Inferi.
Yes, that is something I wanted to talk about.
Any sighting of an Inferius or encounter with the same should be reported to the Ministry immediately. Because it comes up that Inferi are dead people.
Yes.
They're zombies.
Zombies.
If this is real, Sirius will be an Inferi. If Sirius's death is real, he will come back as an Inferi.
Okay.
Because we don't have his dead body. And that would be Sirius's zombie will be guarding some house with the dark mark over it. Harry Potter has to double kill Sirius.
Double kill him.
Has to re-kill.
So I will like to point out, like I do go through the comments on this, and people love your predictions. That is something that every week, everyone loves it when you make predictions.
So when I'm right, I'm right. And when I'm wrong about things that would have made a better story.
Okay. I really think we need to get a whiteboard in the back.
Did you just go,
like,
okay?
Okay. We need to get a whiteboard in the back of like Adrian predictions per book and just like start checking them off. Because like some of them, damn, they're spot on. You call things well before they're supposed to be happening. Some of them are a little bit in left field, and I just kind of leave that to your credit of, well, he's making some guesses.
And if those guesses were right, would the stories be or not be more compelling?
Okay, we're going to move on. Now, let's talk about the Inferi a little bit. How do you feel about that? Because it is mentioned there, and there is no build-up to it. It's just mentioned verbatim, the Inferi. So it does kind of strike you a little bit, because, like, what the hell's this? Did I miss something?
Right.
And later it is explained.
So she does that a lot so far in these chapters.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that are brought up, and they're going to end up coming back.
Okay. Later it is explained that basically they are an army of the dead that have been raised to do Voldemort's bidding. How are you feeling about that? That's a very a dark horror turn for Harry Potter.
It's actually not that much of a dark horror trope. It is a fantasy trope.
Okay.
There are lots of times where the big bad has an army of dead people, because how could someone that bad convince anyone to fight for him? How could someone that bad hire anyone to fight for him? You see it a lot in movies, especially. How do I feel about it? I'm not sure there's anything to... I don't know. I'm not sure what you're getting at.
Well, I just wanted to get your opinions on it, what you thought that we were going to get with this. I do think it is a darker turn for the Harry Potter universe. Because, again, this is a children's book, and now we're talking about animated corpses walking around, murdering people.
Right.
So it is a darker turn, and I've been saying all along Harry Potter's going to get darker, it's going to get darker. So we do have that. Now we're still on Chapter 3. Before we move on to who is Slughorn, Dumbledore has apparently suffered an injury. He has some kind of malady.
My strong hand!
His strong hand is
If anyone gets
injured.
that reference, you're my age.
We're going to talk about that off camera in a second, so just remind me about that. But anyway, do we have any assumptions of where Dumbledore received this injury, what's going on, anything like that, predictions?
You're assuming it's a battle with Moldavort, but I mean, it just as often as it is an actual battle with Moldavort, we're thrown some curveball and it was just Diddly-Door fixing his breakfast, and I didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, burned himself on the George Foreman.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But while on the subject of Diddly-Door, as I was reading the passage where Diddly-Door was explaining Moldavort to the Studleys, it struck me for the first time, I'm an uncle.
Yeah.
Right? So this proposition of the niece or nephew being left on your doorstep by a wizard, that's real for me now. And I can sort of feel what the Studleys are going through. And really, like, the first thing that struck me was, wow, I don't have any stairs.
Okay.
Where would I
put it?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So easily, the Studleys are the most sympathetic characters in this novel.
I love how you have sympathy for the Dursleys. I mean, that's impressive. Like, you might be the only person who's ever come forward and be like, hey, we thought about the Dursleys here. Feel bad.
Gotta be rough, man. It's gotta be rough.
But here's the issue. If your niece showed up on your doorstep, whether or not you wanted to take care of her, could take care of her, could afford to take care of her, I think you'd treat her a little better than, the Dursleys treat old Harry.
You'd have to start treating me better first.
Fair enough. Let's talk about Horace Slughorn. He has been...
I actually have a couple more things from Chapter 3.
Carry on.
Mind. Page 55. The best that can be said is that he has at least escaped the appalling damage you have inflicted upon the unfortunate boy sitting between you. That is Diddly-door to the tune of describing Harry Potter's treatment at the hands of the Studleys versus Dudley's treatment at the hand of the Studleys. What does that sound like to you?
What does that sound like, Adrian?
What is he pointing at?
Pointing at the character's weight? Are we getting into a...
Yes.
Okay.
This is Diddly-door straight up fat shaming.
Okay.
You've hit him under the stairs, and you've beaten him, and you've neglected to tell him anything about his family. At least he's not fat.
Okay.
Now, can you argue with that? I would love for you to be able to argue with that.
I think the only argument you could make would be a jab at Dudley's personality, how he grew up as a person and how he is now. But none of that is in there. I don't believe Dudley speaks the entire time.
Right, you're talking about appalling damage.
Yeah.
We're pointing at the character here.
Point and laugh at
The
it.
appalling damage you've done to this boy. You've done to this boy. You've inflicted upon this child. There's no defense there. You can't defend it.
Yeah.
I win. Later on, a little bit after that passage, Dumbledum says something about using powerful magic through the blood magic, right? Mm-hmm. Why couldn't he use that powerful magic on anything else?
Such as...
I don't know. I don't know the magic.
Okay. We are going to, in this book specifically, we're going to start talking about more powerful levels of magic. Magic that's a bit beyond what is well known by the general populace. It's considered forbidden magic, things like that. So we're going to get into that a little bit. It's going to be an interesting ride.
If it's forbidden magic, though, does that mean it is bad or just that it's verboten?
Both.
Is it verboten because it's so strong? Is it verboten because it's damaging?
Both.
Because you could easily use that magic on something else, and it would maybe not be as damaging to Harry Potter as the circumstance he grew up in. But he's not fat.
At least he's not fat. But you know who is fat? Horace Slughorn.
Horace Slughorn.
Horace Slughorn.
Now hold on, I've got a couple more things.
How do you feel about Horace? Because this is going to be our new professor at Hogwarts.
I'm not against him.
Okay.
So this is the first time that we're seeing a Slytherin that is not just straight up bad guy.
Okay. I did make a point. I wanted to bring up that he was head of Slytherin House the last time he taught at Hogwarts.
So even with Snape, we get the idea that Dumbledum does not like Snape, but he trusts him.
Okay.
Right? We never get the scene where Diddly-door's giving Snape the old elbow. Hey, I got a
he's
joke
not
for
showing up at his house, having a drink, talking about old times.
Right.
Okay. I do think Slughorn is an interesting character. He is going to be an important character in this, obviously. He gets his own chapter. But he collects his students. The only motivation for him is to basically he wants to be the guy who'd be like, oh, well, I know a guy. I can hook you up with that. I know a guy.
Well, okay, so along those lines, this paragraph here on 74, 75, would you read that paragraph out loud?
This one here?
Yeah, that paragraph. Now, this is going to take a second. It's a rather lengthy paragraph.
Horace, said Dumbledore, relieving Harry of the responsibility to say any of this, likes his comfort. He also likes the company of the famous, the successful, and the powerful. He enjoys the feeling that he influences these people. He has never wanted to occupy the throne himself. He prefers the back seat. More room to spread out, you see. He used to handpick his favorite at Hogwarts, sometimes for their ambitions or their brains, sometimes for their charms or their talent. And he had an uncanny knack for choosing those who would go on to become outstanding in their various fields. Horace formed kind of a club of his favorites, with himself at the center, making introductions, forging useful contacts between members, and always reaping some kind of benefit in return, whether a free box of his favorite crystallized pineapple or the chance to recommend the next junior member of the Goblin Liaison Office. Go on.
What?
Why am I reading that, Adrian?
What do you mean?
Why am I reading that?
I think you've got a very nice reading voice.
I feel like you have a point you want to make.
No.
And I would like to hear your point, so I may have my counterpoint.
That sounds a lot like you.
All right. All right. You feel good about yourself? Let's back it up a little bit. What happens when we first meet Horace? When we first enter the home?
He's faking dead so he doesn't have to do anything.
He's faking dead so he doesn't have to have social interaction. He's in hiding. For the last year he's been in hiding. They enter his home, it looks like it's been ransacked. And where is he?
He's not in his home.
He's got his lights out. Well, he's in a stranger's home. He's broken in. He's got the lights out. Are you good?
Oh, go on.
He's basically hiding. He's pretending to be a chair so no one will find him. That's an Adrian Fort quality. That is an Adrian Fort quality.
Adrian Fort at this point in time is running through the streets with an axe. Dalton is turning himself into chairs.
I'm glad you hurt yourself at this point. I have been in this apartment before where something outside looked suspicious and you shut the lights off and made me lay on the floor.
That's because I've lived in the hood. This
is Adrian Fort quality number one here.
No, Dalton.
The people are coming. Shut the lights off.
He's not hiding so he doesn't have to have interactions. He loves interactions. That's what that entire paragraph was about. He's hiding so he doesn't have to do anything. So he doesn't have to make a decision and choose a side.
I feel like you've been sitting on this all week. You've just been thoroughly enjoying this all week. Anyway, what are our thoughts on how Slughorn is going to fit into this dynamic here?
Oh, he's got to die, right?
You think he's going to die? Okay.
He's the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher.
Okay.
Isn't that what he was taking? Isn't that what he was? He's being recruited for.
He is being recruited to come back and teach. He doesn't explicitly say what he's teaching.
Oh, I thought it was the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher.
Okay.
Well, that's the opening, isn't it?
Yeah, that would be the assumption because there is an opening now.
Is Ferenz gone?
I would assume Ferenz is gone.
Okay, so he could be the.
But Ferenz taught divination.
Yeah. He could be divination's teacher, couldn't he? There's nothing saying he can't be.
No. And there's no reason to believe that Ferenz could have been gone. I mean, he worked for Dumbledore, now Dumbledore's back. You good now? Do you feel better?
Yeah.
I don't know where to go from here, so I'm just slinging points left and right.
Oh, man, it's been a long time.
All right.
It's been a long time.
Long time since you laughed?
Since I laughed that hard, yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. One small detail in that chapter, since we're on the subject of war, is Dalton says the price of dragon's blood is sky high. The price of dragon's blood is sky high, like the price of oil in war.
Okay.
Right. So
good point.
That's just a small thing that's interesting to pick up on. Because I think I've made that parallel before in this series between
Okay.
Dragon's Blood and Oil.
Okay, I'm not sure if I recall that one. I may have missed that.
I might be making that up. But
However, that is a good point. We are at war now. I brought that up many times. This is now the war novel. We have a new prime minister who seems to be more war-torn, more geared towards this, being decisive. And things change because of war. And we are going to get a darker tone from this book. It's going to be... more risks will be taken to do the greater good. If that makes
so
sense.
when he was with Diddley-Door, he referenced one of the newspaper articles that said something about him having a disagreement with is that right?
Oh, where Dumbledore and the new Prime Minister were having a disagreement?
Yeah.
Essentially, yes. It's more so that newly appointed Frei was newly restated. They admitted that they had met with Dumbledore at once, taken on possession of the top job, but refused to comment on the topics of discussion. Albus Dumbledore is known to blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So
and that was my problem with it, is that we don't understand what it is.
Okay.
So it can be anything.
Okay, we are going to get a lot of Dumbledore in this book, so we're going to get to know more about the man himself. That's a good thing. Slughorn's going to be taking over at Hogwarts. He's going to be working there, so we're going to get to know why he's important. He is going to bring some interesting things towards this, and that is going to fuel the majority of this novel.
All of these hints suddenly towards Dumbledore's weakness makes me wonder if he dies in this novel versus the next one. Because if he dies in this one, then we would have, obviously, well, we could have a struggle for power, which might make for compelling storytelling, which I don't think J.K. would take advantage of. But you would also probably have Umbridge. Umbridge? She's the good one, right?
No.
No.
You're talking McGonagall.
McGonagall. Probably trying to take Diddley-Dore's post, which would be a woman moving into power, which would be a very J.K. Rowling thing, because she has not done that to this point in this novel.
Okay.
So I think that this is probably... There's something else that happens in this novel. I'm wondering if this is when we're going to start getting a lot more of the actual social justice warrior type mentality from the writer versus telling us, but then never giving us minorities and never giving us any diversity, and women playing, a backseat role.
Okay.
And the only way that these novels pass the Bechdel test is the weasel mother saying something to Ginny, and now we've got Ginny and Hermione being best friends.
Okay.
So there's the Bechdel test there, but other than that, it doesn't happen. So it makes me wonder if this is where things are going to... Like, if she suddenly woke up upon realizing she was writing the 6th novel and said, holy shit, I've just been writing white patriarchy novels.
I haven't slung my agenda in here yet. My God. Well, we're going to get there. We're going to be back next week. We're going to read a few more chapters of Harry Potter, and we're going to start digging into this a little bit more.
I think you're just excited to get out of here because I laughed at you so hard.
It only was like 5 minutes of nonstop laughing. Anyway.
You've got nothing else you want to talk about from these 2 chapters?
I don't.
I am interested in the dynamic of a new Slytherin, which is not quite... He's not as evil, it seems, as
And we
the
did
rest
bring that up last week. You're like, so is every Slytherin a bad guy? And I said, not necessarily, but every bad guy was a Slytherin.
Right. So one thing that we're forced to look at here, because we're getting it from J.K. Rowling, he is both short and fat.
Yes.
So he might not be a bad guy, but I'm willing to bet he screws something up.
Okay.
Also, what's the new Minister of Magic's name? Scrimgeour.
Scrimgeour, yes.
Scrimgeour is described immediately by Dumbledore as an extremely capable character, right?
Okay.
Which this goes back to what is a man? A man is able, a man is capable, a man is necessary. We get that a lot in Hemingway, right? So Hemingway is where I sort of based my masculine theory on when I was trying to get under the skin of all my professors in college who were just telling me to write about feminism. I was like, I've got this masculine theory. So The first thing about a man in literature, the man who is a man, is he is able.
Okay.
And the man who is an authority, we never see him come to power. We don't see him get better. We enter the story when he's already established.
Okay.
So Scrimgeour is already established. The first thing Dumbledore says about him, he's really able. This guy is capable.
Okay.
So that is interesting to me, that is the introduction we're getting to the character.
Okay, so maybe a little bit of different character dynamic, something new.
Right, and another failed opportunity, if we want to go this route, for J.K. Rowling to introduce a woman of power,
Okay.
to introduce a minority, some type of diversity into this world of power.
All right.
So it is. That's interesting, and I want to see where it goes, because we have someone who we're assuming is the wartime leader, is the people. Tony Blair even says, I can imagine this is the type of guy you want in times of war, basically, right?
Yeah.
He says, this is. I can see why, if things are going bad, I can see why they took this guy on board.
Fair enough.
So it also makes me wonder where Scrimgeour came from.
Okay.
Where has he been? What has he been doing that he was not the Minister of Magic?
And he is often described as basically a rugged lion-like guy, big old mane.
And again, we get into physical primacy
Yes.
of the man's man.
Okay. Going to be interesting to see where we get from that. I'm now terrified to read any more Slughorn chapters because, I hate you as a person, but...
We literally had someone named Gentry in Adjustment Day, which there was no real parallel there. But now that we have Slughorn, I think I'm just going to start calling him Gentry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just going to go with that. All right.
We would appreciate it if you like this sort of thing, if you hit the like button. It really helps us out on this channel. Subscribe if you have not, as we will be tearing apart Harry Potter and Dalton Gentry for the next, I don't know, I guess years, because J.K. Rowling wrote terrible Stephen King-length novels. And if you would like to help us create more content here on Strip Cover Lit, there's a link to our Patreon, as always, to be found in the description below.
All right. Bastard.